Welcome back to the Auric Unity podcast. I thank you for Auric Unity Media Podcast. I still can't even say my own podcast name correctly, but thank you for joining me in talking about my own self-developmental spiritual journey, which I'm attempting to relay in like a story about how I went through my process so I can help you. So the last episode I talked about how I started to, experiment with certain substances because I went down that path after I got injured. But during that time period, I also went to Google, to the internet, and looked for information about spirituality. I ended up finding things like the Big Five Ocean test, found the MBTI test, found an Enneagram test. Astrology kind of like dabbled, but it wasn't like too much. I was more into the psychological processing of these tests. And then I also told you about how I started to experiment with marijuana at that time. And during that time, I got into MDMA and I got into psychedelics, which ended up getting me to a very dark path, but it brought me out from the darkness, got me to push away and to totally get rid of my addictions and trying to escape my reality by investing in myself. So after I started to invest in myself, kicked the habit, got back into my body, started doing stuff, started working out, and I got back into the martial arts during that time period too. Yes, I did. Because I went to do Kali Eskrima. I did Japanese Jiu-Jitsu or Nikkei Jiu-Jitsu in the Bay Area. And so from that, I do want to go back to my whole psychedelic experience or through that weird altered states of consciousness. And there's a reason why I want to talk to you about it, because it's not from a place where I'm not here to promote, to make these claims sound like, oh wow, you're going to have life-altering experiences. But for me, it altered my perspective, opened my mind's eye. And this is not for everybody. Don't get me wrong. This is not for everybody. I had some really crazy bad trips, and I'm happy, I'm lucky, I made it out with my sanity intact. So I'm letting you know that right now. Do not do it just to do it and thinking that that's going to be the magic pill. Me, I didn't go do it thinking it was a magic pill. It was more like, oh, it's in front of me. I'm not going to be a cop anyway. I might as well just try to just experiment and relive some of my early 20s since, I worked 2 jobs and stuff. Oh, and during that time period, I also got rid of 2 jobs and only worked at 1 job. So I was getting my youth, my 20s back to me during my mid-20s. And one big experience I got from one of those trips was that, and I think this might have been on salvia, to tell you the truth. So I'm crazy that I'm talking about all this, but it makes sense because those substances, if you've read Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception, which I'm going to link it in the video below, that'll be an affiliate link. It's an awesome book, and it speaks about how mystics and people that have taken these psychedelic drugs, these hallucinogens, have gone to these mystic meditative states. And the way that you can also get that is through fasting. Extreme fasting and through near-death experiences. And what happens is somehow there's a flood of chemicals from the pituitary gland where there's a different physiological response that happens inside your brain, and it changes the brain chemistry. And from that experience, you tap into the same mystical spiritual experience, which I'm guessing it's probably through neurobiological process, through your nucleus accumbens and through those hormonal neural pathways that trigger that hormonal response to get this experience. So through that, I know that was a mouthful, but I started to look at my life from another perspective, because during that trip, and it was just like an eye-opening trip, like eye-opening. You want to say third eye too? Okay, it's a third eye opening, an eye-opening trip to me, where tryptamine, I kind of said tryptamine, but where I saw myself from a third-person perspective. And I was already having those third-person perspectives because the first thing that I got rid of through one of my psychedelic trips was letting go of blame and blaming people that were close to me and blaming others for my own situation, my own plight. I had to take responsibility for my life. I had to take responsibility for my actions. And that was one of the big key takeaways from one of my worst trips ever, where I was just like, oh my God. I mean, you thought I would have stopped there, but no, I didn't, because I told you I was in this kind of feedback escapism loop, right? But this one experience really opened my eyes, and it was through the salvia where I started to look at myself from a third person perspective, because the salvia, what it does is it's a dissociative identity where you don't see yourself from your point of view. from your subjective experience or in your subjective perspective through your lens. No, you look at it from an outside perspective. It does some type of cognitive dissonance from your own mind. And through that, I saw myself, oh my God, there could be two pathways for me if I kept going down this route, if I kept staying addicted to certain behaviors, if I kept practicing bad behaviors, perform negative actions and kept on destroying my relationship. Okay, I might have gotten rid of blame, but then now I was starting to partake in risky behaviors. And I'm not going to get too many details on that, but I started partaking in risky behaviors where that was going to lead me to a bad outcome. And one of those visions I saw, it's like, okay, Scott, I'm like, the inner voice speaking to me, it was like, okay, Scott, I want you to imagine this. And imagine, this came to me in a big concept image in my mind and through like this weird kind of, I can't explain it. I mean, if you've ever taken psychedelics, you kind of know what I mean. And I could either have two outcomes. I can be on the other side of the lens, like you're watching me right here, right? I could be on that side of the lens and be a prisoner or be enslaved by my own mind. I could be in an actual physical prison. I could be a person that didn't go after their goals. I could be a person that was regretting, and I'm watching another person here. And I think that's what kind of like triggered the whole Joel Osteen thing, was like, or I can watch myself on this side of the screen where I am right now, attempting to be this person, not attempting, but I am this person helping other people, helping them with their self-developmental journey as well as their spiritual journey. And so that really kind of like was giving me this big old mind F, right? I'm really trying not to swear on this channel, but it was starting to mind freak the hell out of me, because that was the first time I was like, oh my God, my actions, my behaviors, the way that, yes, I'm getting better with my thinking, my emotions, but my behaviors are not really that good, because now I'm starting to get addicted to substances and I'm trying to escape my reality. I'm doing things that aren't in my own best interest, which is hilarious, because even 2-3 years from learning all this, I still was repeating the same mistakes and committing to the same pattern. But eventually I got out of that pattern. I mean, this is the reason why I'm doing this video right now. And from that, I had that outcome. I could be a prisoner on the other side, watching someone else on the big screen or on TV or on through the phone. I could be someone that was filled with regret, filled with envy, not like hateful envy. I didn't have that emotion when I was seeing that vision. It was more of like, damn, like, damn, this is what life is. And I'm totally messed up. And that's the person I could have became. This is the person that you're watching right now is the person I should be. And then it transformed to another process. And that's probably why I think I was watching Joel Osteen at the time too, where it was making this kind of, establishing a connection, a correlation with this visual image, or I could be the one on stage. I can be the one that is doing a speech or orating. And I think it was actually more pertaining to music at that point, when I told you it was like my very brief experiment in like, oh, maybe I'll do music. I'm like, no. But as I started to see that I wanted to be the person to be a content creator, I wanted to be the person to help out the masses, I wanted to be a person to share a positive and promote an uplifting message, to make an impact in society, to make a positive influence and be a positive light, a beacon of light for people. I wanted to be that instead of the other thing. So a moment I got out of that state, I went home, I recalibrated my mind. I said, you know what? No, this is getting too much into, I'm escaping my reality. I'm getting myself into addictive behaviors, performing actions that are not for my best interest. And I need to look beyond than just looking through Google and looking through the New Age spirituality and looking through I need to have more structure. What do I want to do with my life? What do I want to leave behind? What kind of message do I want to share with people? And so during that time period, I made the decision of, okay, I'm going to be a content creator. I want to be on YouTube. I want to start doing YouTube. And this was 7 years ago. So this was like 2013 or something like that. And I was watching Ralph Smart religiously. I started to watch Joel Osteen at that point. And those are like kind of like my main guys. And before that, I wasn't really even on YouTube that much, but I would watch that. And then I was just getting inspiration and I was listening to Ralph Smart. And so that's one of the tools. So Ralph Smart, I don't agree with everything he says, but that man has been a positive influence and a big time mentor towards me from the outside. So thank you, much blessings to you, Ralph, for helping me get into a better state of mind to embracing my own gifts and discovering my gifts. And so what I'm telling you is that he's a great resource to go to. So I'll link his channel up over here so you can check his channel out, check out what kind of content he creates. But there's not everything about what he says is I totally agree with. And so for you to go watch his channel, it might resonate with you completely and where you like exactly everything he says. But for me, what I want to relay to you is listen. I can point you to this resource, but make your own decisions and also look for other resources too that you resonate with. Just because a person you find has information you like, you don't have to walk in lockstep, in mental lockstep with them. You can have your own thoughts and your own opinions, your own ideas on things. Like another person I like to follow a lot is Valuetainment, Patrick Bet-David. And not everything he says I like. Not all of his content I like to watch, but the majority of stuff I do like. And in fact, I like it when he has a different perspective than I do. I like it when Ralph Smart has a different perspective than I do. I like it when these other YouTubers that I like to watch all the time have a different perspective than I do. But why do I like to go towards them? Because they always promote the same message about self-reliance, about investing in yourself, about expanding your horizon, expanding your mind, breaking through self-limiting beliefs. Roberto Blake saying that the way you can be a content creator, you can make a business out of it. Like, so I'm like always listening to Roberto, and he's always giving out like some positive, uplifting messages and rants about like, you got to stick it hard with your personal development, with your personal finances and things like that. So like those are information you take. Easiest information, going back to it, is start Googling whatever you want to Google. Like look for that information, but then start to expand your horizons by checking out other sources of information. Read, watch, and listen to a combination of content. You read articles, you read books, you read blogs, you read, what else do I read? Newsletters, subscriptions. And then through that, you listen to audiobooks, you listen to, just rattle down a list of things that you want to listen to, and then you watch, because you need a combination of all three. For learning styles, you need to have an auditory, you need a visual processing style of language to get inside your mind so you can allow your own mind to form and conceptualize different diagrams and images and connect things to your stories and to your memories. Then you have the auditory of learning, which will also cement what you've read and through your language processing, and also what with language processing through listening through your auditory senses, through your ears. You can be doing something like a menial task or a menial job, or doing something in retail where you're like loading up the shelves like I did. I did overnight crew over at a grocery store, and I would listen to audiobooks religiously. Every night I would listen to audiobooks. I didn't even really listen to YouTube that as much. I listen more to YouTube now when I do my gig contract stuff, driving around. But most of the time when I was working at a grocery store, and for the brief period after my surgery where I did work 2 jobs still for like a couple months, what I was doing was I worked only a few months to help out my Carmela, my receiving manager for the holidays. Then I was going to quit. But after that, when I only worked in night crew, and when I would work behind and filling up the milk jugs and stuff, I would listen to audiobooks just religiously, book after book after book after book after book. It was one of the easiest ways to do a job and get paid for it while listening to something. Some people really like to listen to music. Yeah, of course, use music if that gets you in a tempo and a mood to do something, but listen to audiobooks for information. If it's gonna help you, okay, so if you're gonna make a beat, right? And if you're into producing beats and you're going to compose a song together, maybe listening to music is a good thing. So I'm not going to say just do not listen to music. Listen to just whatever makes you excited, makes you happy, what engages you, your attention, and what you can gain from. Gain whether in a good feel of good emotions or in your mind. So now we have the auditory, right? The visual processing through language to help you conceptualize images and new ideas and connect them to memories and experiences through reading. Then we got the auditory. You can, like I said, you can multitask and do other things while you get paid for it as you are listening to an audio program. People I like to listen to on YouTube right now, been a freaking big Lex Friedman and Chris Do, The Future Is Here podcast stuff. I just turn that on because, one's talking about business, the other one's talking about AI and universal cosmology type stuff. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmic Queries, those are like really cool, scientific ones. If you're not into the science stuff, whatever you want to listen to that helps to, and of course, Gary Vee for business. So whatever you want that you naturally gravitate towards, listen to that in the meantime of what you're doing, right? Then the next step is to watch the video. Normally, if there's not visual information in the video, like motion graphics or diagrams to illustrate the point of the information of what's inside the video, I'm really not going to watch it. If it's just people sitting there and talking, I'm not going to watch it unless I want to study their body language. I want to study their micro expressions from their face. I want to see the dynamics between the two people, their on-screen chemistry. If you're an actor, you want to see how the actor emotes an emotion while they're doing their acting. And of course, that's when you want to process that visual information through character study, through watching people. So there's a time and place to watch people too. But if it happens to be like I've already kind of seen it, and one of the things I excel at tends to be in emotion. What I excel at is emotional intelligence. So I kind of watch when I want to, when I really want to process that, when I really want to learn about that. But for the most part, I don't. I just go listen to the auditory. But then there's certain videos that you're gonna watch, which you'll need the visual component, where you need to see the diagrams, where you need to see things moving around. So let's say if you're a cinematographer or film editor, you're gonna need to see the visual elements, how the sound design works, and where to cut and how to place things, you know what I mean? So you need kind of all three of these things. You need the visual side, you need the auditory side, and then you need also the reading the language side. And then what's the most important thing that you gotta have? What's the most important thing? You gotta create, right? You actually gotta take a camera out and record stuff. You actually got to take out a pen and jot down those lyrics. You got to move around that mouse cursor or tap on that screen to compose something, to edit something, to create your art. You need to start using your hands on that keyboard to program a new language, AI language on PyTorch and TensorFlow and Python and all that good stuff, right? So that's where was I going with all this? I mean, this is where I was attempting to go. So from that, so I learned that through searching out information on Google, searching information out on YouTube, searching out information in books, in audiobooks. And after a while, after a couple of years, the best way to learn all this information and really have it solidified is, of course, you got to do it. You got to learn it, but you also got to apply what you learned. And then you create from what you learn. Because if you're only a consumer in what you do in the self-developmental journey, it's not going to be the greatest outcome for you. Because if you just constantly hoarded information without using that information to make a change in your immediate reality, then you're not going to reap the benefits of what you learned. Unless you just happen to like reading a bunch of stuff, and you don't mind. If you love the way you live right now, then I'm not going to tell you to change the way you live. No, I'm not. But if you do want to level up your self-development, then you start to engage the process of creation, and you start to engage the process of doing. But then what the story that I'm sharing with you is that I was in an incubation period where I was accumulating all this knowledge, accumulating all these different ideas, and starting to visualize exactly what I wanted to do with my life. Let me check the time here, see if I went too far. Okay, 19 minutes. So from that, let me catch my thoughts real quick. So after that whole trip where I started saying, you know what, no more. I'm going to write myself fully, get back into my body, because you need to have a good, strong foundational body to be able to if you kick a habit, right? If you kick an addictive behavior that's destructive to you, you can use that mental energy into doing something productive like reading a book, because you only have enough time allotted in the day to do a certain amount of things. So if my day right now, I wake up, I go on, because I'm attempting to grow my brands, right? So I go on Twitter, I start tweeting, I start reading different things, and it's kind of phenomenal because Twitter actually, there's a lot of scientists on there, and they do they share their articles, and so I'm in there like reading stuff. So it's kind of a good source of information with people tweeting stuff. So I go do that. I go build that, try to attempt to do my thing with my Instagram, to build that out, to push out my blog, because I do personal blogs on Instagram that pertain to more of the spiritual motivation. Sometimes I'll throw in the tidbits of actual self-development techniques. And then the other time I start reading books again. If I'm not going to go do some gig work or whatever, do some freelance work, then I go read books. I read the books that I like to do. I listen to the podcast while I'm doing my work. And then when I'm editing, when I'm doing my rough editing for videos, because that's one of the few things I've learned as a passion is I enjoy the video editing process. One of the big excuses I gave to myself to not start YouTube was like, oh, I need to find a video editor. Lo and behold, after I started doing a YouTube video, I'm like, oh my God, I'm the actual video editor. And I kind of like it. I like doing it, especially for myself. I like doing it, right? And so you can do all those things where during my process of the day, I listen to the audiobooks, I've done my reading, but see, I've even said how I said, right? I'm listening to an audiobook while I'm in the beginning stages of video editing, meaning like I'm taking the clips in and maybe I'm working on some keyframes or something to make like a motion graphic or what have you. And I'm creating something. I'm creating from what I've learned. Right now, I'm explaining to this whole self-developmental process as well as creating a video. From what I've read today, which was about, about how noradrenaline, a hormonal system or a hormone that's generated by your endocrine system, which in turn affects how you make new behaviors in light of new information. So I started to really learn about that. And so now I'm here sharing you that with noradrenaline, the thing that helps to dilate your blood vessels to get you that good pump, to get you into action, helps you to when you encounter a new situation, a new thing in your environment, it gears you up to determine whether that new thing in the environment, whether you should go back to your previous behaviors and stick to your same routine, or it's going to be like, oh my God, this is like something that's new. And noradrenaline helps you to process that information and how you're going to start to form new behaviors into that. So the reason why I even brought that in is because, number one, it is part of holistic development. It's part of human behavior. It's part of helping you come up with new actionable behaviors to new goals. And to relate to your story is how I read that piece of information from a tweet. No, actually, no, that wasn't from a tweet. That was from Google News. I clicked on a neuroscience article, read about noradrenaline, said, oh my God, this is really interesting. Now I'm speaking on a video impromptu in about 23 minutes within the audio form right here. So that's how what I'm saying, everything connects, is that you find what you're interested in. You go towards your natural gifts. You start to expand on those gifts. You start to go more deeper and in depth and expand the breadth and go deep in depth with that information that you have. And from that information, if one of your goals is to help people promote holistic development, I'm talking about myself here, then I'm going to translate that on video, on audio, and to teach you that your noradrenaline spikes and dilates your blood vessels and triggers into your mind, your cognitive processes, when you experience something that is going to be new to you. So that's what I'm telling you is use that resource of Google, use that resource of videos, of watching, of reading books, of doubling down by working your regular job and listening to an audiobook if it allows. And schedule your day where you're in consuming and intaking, absorbing, synthesizing information, and then creating with that information and publishing and posting those pieces of information into sharing your message and to showing your new insights from that information that you've brought in. So, man. So the whole psychedelic thing, yeah. So that's what it taught me. And that was because I eliminated bad behaviors, right? It gave me the vision of, I need to eliminate these bad behaviors now. And that's part of my self-developmental journey. I needed to eliminate bad behaviors that is making me more hedonistic, more diving into my pleasure centers of my mind, to stimulating myself only and not doing anything with my life where I am meandering through life, through pleasurable experiences, through escaping my reality. And so now, apparently, I overcame that portion, because if I hadn't overcome that portion, who knows what I've done in this video? Would I have learned all these new skills? Would I have learned how to edit a video? Would I learn how to use the F1 field recorder, the Zoom F1 field recorder? Would I know how to pick which phone I want to use? Would I know how to pick the shot I want with the leading lines and having a little bit of depth and having the light to come on my face and using a ring light to make sure that I don't have to do too much post-production in the video editing process? This is what I mean, is like, you learn the things that you're interested in, and from all that information that you've absorbed, that you've taken in, now begin to share, now begin to create. And if you don't want to do things on social media, because this is part of me, like, holistic development has the social sphere into it, right? What I've always said, the spiritual is the core of everything. It touches everything because it's the interconnection. I think even when you define spirituality, it literally says the interconnection of things or something like that. Don't hold me to that. Don't hold me to that. I'll define it later. But so the spiritual core, then the next is your mind, your emotions, and your physical process, which also your physical is also your actions, doing all these weird, funny movements. But, I'm trying to form the cognitive behavioral triangle. Spiritual right here, in the cognitive behavioral triangle, which is the mind, the emotions, the physical body, and physical actions combined, right? And then you got the social sphere of this, where it's now you're having interpersonal relationships with other people, an intrapersonal relationship with yourself, intra towards yourself, and interpersonal with another person. And that, of course, extends to groups, that extends to communities. So what my holistic development thing that I'm attempting to do is brand a message, holistic development, and promote that so I can help other people, so I can educate other people, so I can entertain other people and uplift people. And so that is portion of my self-development process of all the things that I've learned, is if I can combine all these skills from all the things I've learned and execute on those skills, because I've dived so much into my self-development and helping other people with their self-development so that they may live a happier, more productive life, and that they may radiate what they've learned outwards and affect other people around them to create other people that are, I guess, more self-actualized, right? Like, for me, I believe I am in that self-actualization state where I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I feel fulfilled. I feel content. Now I want to level that up where I'm helping more people out. Now I want to be able to, like, make money doing the things that I'm passionate about, which is teaching and educating and promoting holistic development and making videos and stuff like that. So that was my self-development journey, how I overcame the trappings of my own mind through my own addictive behaviors. And of course, it goes even deeper than that, because during this time period when I overcame that bit with psychedelics was that, and MDMA and all that, was I didn't kick behaviors completely. I still dabbled from time to time. And at that point, I think I was 28 years old, I still hadn't created a video, even though it was in my to-do list to create a video. And from 28 to 32, 28 to 30 was, I had a game plan. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to work on myself so I can, oh my God, losing my voice. So I can elevate my own game so I can create better videos. And from that, I kept making excuses, and I didn't create. I didn't make videos. I didn't post on YouTube. I didn't publish or anything. And so it came to a point where I had an opportunity to go down to LA, and then I took the opportunity. And from there, my whole goal was to do personal training and to do YouTube, to focus mainly on YouTube. That didn't happen. And I ended up getting lost into the marijuana field and was doing consultations and doing other things where I got basically smacked in the face again. And once again, I delayed doing YouTube. And that was the dark night of the soul for me personally, because of the things that I had to experience through that period, as well as losing my brother, Derek. And by the time I got to 32, 32 years old was the first time I published a video. 32 was 2 years ago in 2018. Hopefully, if I've gotten this far in the editing process, I'm gonna link a video there, and that is my very first video of me doing on YouTube, where first time I learned how to edit a video. And now, fast forward a couple years later, done enough videos for the Happiness Podcast Project and for Auric Unity. Now I'm gonna make it a consistent, quantitative effort in delivering not only the messages portions of Auric Unity, which I had imposter syndrome on for the very longest time. So the Auric Unity messages, and thank you for making through this audio and making through this video. So I'll give you a little bit of the format of this channel, how I'm going to go from here on out. Is that I'm going to have the podcast, what you've seen. The AUM podcast is the thing that you've been seeing. The Auric Unity messages, I do form everything through the Aum, the Aum symbol. So AUM podcast, the Auric Unity messages, the Auric Unity methods, and of course I got a couple of the energy and in motion vlog, which is me practicing my creative abilities, my skills. So the vlogs are kind of extra, to tell you the truth. They might have been like the mainstay of my channel in the beginning, but they're all very much like extra, and that's my own self-development process of becoming like a masterful content creator through like more of the artsy side of my personality, right? So the vlogs, you'll see them come out sporadically, but that's not the main stuff of my channel, right? So you got that. And then you also got the motivations. The motivational videos are usually videos I've done for other people. Sometimes some videos I've done for, excuse me for all the coughing, but sometimes the videos I've done for Instagram, right? Those are the motivationals too. And wherever these videos really don't fit, I've done the Black Lives Matter video, harmony for both people, whether you're all lives or Black lives. My whole thing's about unity and harmony, okay? If you're gonna have conflict, let's still find solutions together and move on. Like just because I say one thing, trust me, I'm trying to think about the totality of us working together, right? So that's how it goes. The motivationals, like I said, you'll see that sporadically. The podcast, the AUM podcast, you're gonna see a lot. The Auric Unity messages, you're gonna see that a lot. Auric Unity methods, which I haven't really published, but I've had unedited videos, you're gonna see that a lot. The AUM podcast is gonna be like this style. You're gonna hear my stream of consciousness, my flow of thought. Hopefully I get this more structured, but this is how I normally speak when I'm talking, really sharing out the information that I have in my mind and through my life experiences. So it'll be more personal, and there'll also be some interviews that you've seen with Julio, with Joe, with Jared, and Jason will be coming up too. And I think I might be posting it before you guys see this one, right? But now I'm extending that to also doing more of a solo thing, because I started to realize, I need to start being more than just the Auric Unity messages and Auric Unity methods, so you can really see how I normally talk on an everyday basis. If I'm not talking, usually I'm very introverted, so I'm not really talking to begin with. But the moment you ask me stuff about self-development or cosmology or whatever topics of interest, this is how I normally talk, right? So that's going to be the Auric Unity podcast. The Auric Unity messages. Okay, Auric Unity Media podcast. I'm going to release that every Monday or Tuesday, I believe. All right. The next one will be the Auric Unity messages. That's going to be more the spiritual encouragement, spiritual motivation, and that kind of is like a la Joel Osteen, a la T.D. Jakes, and parts of Ralph Smart and Les Brown, and some of these motivational guys I like to listen to. And I just like, I like the poetic flow of things and stylizing the videos too. So that's kind of like tapping into my artsy side and spiritual motivation side. So that's the Auric Unity messages, and I'll probably release that on Thursdays or Fridays, something near the end of the week. And then the Auric Unity methods, I'm gonna put it right. No, I did not put this in order, but the Auric Unity methods, will be in the middle of the week. That'll probably be Wednesdays. I'm kind of matching it with Wednesday that's associating with Mercury, with Hermes, with Hermetics, with the Kabbalion. So I'm kind of like matching these kind of days. But the Auric Unity methods will be kind of like the Jordan Peterson, where Chris Do, the Roberto Liblake, where I'm going into, and Ralph Smart, like how to discover or how to know the universe is working with you in 10 signs and things like that. So that would be more of like the educational side of Auric Unity, and more of the like the signs that you'll see in your life, the pattern recognition that you'll have that things are working right. And then even explaining like, oh, the power of angel numbers and how you can use that as a neuro-linguistic programming method to creating new behaviors and changing your perspective. So that's how I'm going to have it. The mainstays will be Auric Unity Media Podcasts. Next it will be the Auric Unity Messages, and the next will be the Auric Unity Methods. Then after that, or the Energy and Motion and the Auric Unity Motivationals are completely just like random short videos that I do that's more for my own personal benefit to share with you. And then now if you want to do some readings, I do Instagram blogs too. So you can find me on Instagram. All the links are down in the below. And I do short form vlogs. But on my website, auricunity.online, there's a whole story why it's .online instead of .com. But if you go to auricunity.com, you're going to be redirected to .online. So .online and .com are both mine, Auric Unity, right? Auric Unity, if you go auricunity.com or auricunity.online, you can find all my stuff there, all curated on that website, right? But then with that website, what you'll find at this point in time is I also have some long blogs on there. And the long blogs, you're going to have to search. I have it all sectioned out for you to go toward to look into. And that actually has more of an Auric Unity methods feel, where it's more of educational based, while the short blogs, the Instagram blogs, tend to be more, like I said, more motivational with a smidgen of methods, with a smidgen of the education. And yeah, that's about it. I felt like I just went on a tangent and a tirade all at one time. But if you made it through this video, God bless. If you don't believe in God, bless you. Like, I'm trying to be all inclusive here. But thank you. Much love. Many blessings. I'm Scotty of Auric Unity, your host. And have a blessed and beloved day. Love you all. Keep on. Keep fighting the good fight. Go into your self-development journey, expand your spirituality, open your mind, absorb new information, empower yourself, uplift others, elevate society. We got work to do. Let's get it. Let's go. It's good. And I'll see you next time.